all this rust. Look, there's tons and tons more rust underneath there. So I'm just going to cut all of that out, and then I'm going to start putting metal back in. Now that is a Flintstones car, but at least the rust is now gone.
With the rusty metal off the car, I can tidy the edges with a flat disc and prep the surfaces that will be welded to later. Now I'm ready to start getting in the new panel, and that means making up a template.
I've got a nice big sheet of paper here. I'm just going to just very easily just nestle that into position. And the idea, very simple technique, I'm just going to pop it in there and I'm just going to use it to mark out the patch of metal that I want to cut out of my steel. Now at this stage it doesn't have to be too accurate. Take it back out and I'm just going to cut around that mark. Just going to position the paper template onto my bit of metal here. Now I'm using the same gauge steel that the car is made from. It makes it a lot easier to weld two similar thicknesses together. This is about 18 gauge, give or take. So now that's where I want it to go. I'm actually going to use this as a guide to go around with the plasma cutter. Just make my life a bit easier. Very useful top tip this. Let's get some mounting adhesive and just spray very lightly on the back here. There you go, just spray a little on there. And then give it a couple of minutes or seconds to get a bit tacky, and then I can pop this in position. It just holds it down.
Then it's a matter of carefully cutting the steel a shade wider than the paper template. This gives me a bit of room to allow for any error. The better the fit, the easier the welding.
Now that's looking pretty good.
After a few more adjustments with my grinder to ensure a perfect fit, I can tack and then seam weld the panel into place. Having ground down any excess weld, I give a key or rough up the remaining bare metal. Then I spray it with stone chip paint, which prevents corrosion and smartens things up.
That job is now done. It's tough as old boots. It's taken about a day, but it's well worth it because now the Interceptor is well on its way to getting that all-important MOT.
While Ed's on the steelwork, I'm putting in some legwork.
Now, I've had a word with all the Jensen power suppliers about reinstating the air conditioning in our Interceptor, and they all tell me that it costs about £1,000. Unfortunately, that's just too much money, so I've decided to shelve the idea. But there was one guy I was talking to, he sounded fascinated. He knew everything about Jensen's. In fact, he even asked for the chassis number of our car and said he might have something for me. I found that whole conversation really intriguing. So it's not too far from where I live. I thought I'd pop down and have a look.
Jensen, as it was, no longer exists. It closed in '76, having made 6,400 cars. But this clever British engineering company bought all the remaining spares plus the tooling for the Interceptor, and they can make or supply most bits. Fantastic stuff.
Wow, look at this place. It's like stepping back inside a real proper engineering workshop. Big machines, pressing out stuff, loads of hisses and bangs, and I'm looking for the managing director. His name's Martin Roby, and I reckon it's the guy with a nice suit on over here. Martin? Hello. How are you, mate? You alright? You can put about... That's alright, then what's that?
That is the rear balance of an Interceptor.
Fantastic. Can I actually see one of these being made? What, right here?
Yeah.
Jensen's found in breakers' yards tend to be rusty wrecks, so a newly pressed panel like this is the best solution for owners wanting to restore the bodywork. The Jensen is very much a handmade car of the old school, and it's great to see today's craftsmen continuing that fine tradition.
I've left Martin down on the shop
Floyd sent me up here to come and see his son Craig. I'm intrigued. I think they've got some kind of surprise lined up for me. Craig?
All right.
Hello, mate. Hey, Dan, your father has sent me up to come and see you.
Yeah.
So what have we got here?
Well, basically, Mike, what we've got up here is all the production files that were stored at Jensen Motors, Kelvin Way in West Bromwich, and we brought them all over here.
So these are all the logs and the production files for all the Jensens?
Yeah, pretty much all of them, yeah. This here, Mike, is this is your chassis file from the factory.
You're kidding me.
No, I'm not.
Oh, well, look at this! Fantastic! It's got the date of first registration, 17th of November, 1973, and the registration number would have been one log.
Yeah. Is it still in the vehicle now?
I wish it was. It'd be worth a few quid. I would have sold it. Oh, it's brilliant. Look at it all. Oh, look at this. It's even got... That's perfect. This is the sheet that tells you about the imperfections when the car was manufactured.
That's right, Mike. Many imperfections in the paintwork would have been picked up and marked up on here for you.
So these would have been taken out. And look at that one. VR.
Vinyl roof, yeah, optional extra. And
That car's got a vinyl roof.
it's still got it on there now.
It's still got it on there, and I thought somebody would have put that on to cover up a rust spot or something.
With a hole in the
But it was
roof.
original.
No, that was part of the
Oh, that's amazing. Absolutely. Oh, Godspeed. Thank you very much. What can I do? Can I keep this then?
Unfortunately, you can't keep it because you want to keep all the files together. But what I have got is a photocopy of the file there, which we can take away.
I don't believe I got a photocopy of the whole log and service history. I'll tell you what, that really is brilliant. Thank you very much, Craig.
Pleasure.
Jensen is a bespoke company, so it's no surprise that Jensen kept an eye on each of their cars. But what does amaze me all those years later, a company like this, with a passion for the brand and still keep their tabs on every single motor. Now, it's all about the stories with classic car ownership, and files like this have given our car a brand new chapter. It's too early to say whether it's going to be a happy ending for our Jensen. It's all about making money, but our Interceptor is a long way off from being roadworthy. Come back after the break to see Ed getting all down and dirty with those dodgy brakes. Oh no, final fight! It's just a scratch, that's all. No need to cool them a
This program is sponsored by Churchill Car Insurance.
Promote what makes your business great with VistaPrint. Whether it's a business card, a banner or a flyer, we have the paper stocks, sizes and design options to create marketing that's right for your business. Give it a try with 250 standard business cards starting at just $9.99 when you use code DVG50 at Vistaprint.co.uk.
In the month-end sale, this large sideboard is only $3.99 and delivered in just 7 days. At Oak Furnitureland.
I knew my family had connections to World War I. Finding my great-grandfather's name in the ancestry records led me to research the experiences they had and the places they had them.
Simply type in a name to search Ancestry's collection of military records and discover your family's World War I story. Find all the Tesco finest ingredients to make your own big city stuffed chicken in-store and online. Food Love Stories, brought to you by Tesco Finest. A few months ago, a friend told us that with the Legal & General lifetime mortgage, our home could release some tax-free cash to help us enjoy our retirement. So after we updated our kitchen, we took the van back on tour. If you're over 55 and a homeowner, you could release some of the cash tied up in your home using a Legal & General lifetime mortgage. To find out more, go online and try our easy-to-use calculator, or call us on 0808 2312 500 to request your free guide. With sizes ranging from 6 to 32, thousands of amazing styles to choose from, and great value prices. You can sparkle and shine this season with the autumn winter range from Bon Prix. Visit bonprix.co.uk today. Monthly, it's me.
Welcome to Now TV. Grab an entertainment pass and dive into the latest and best TV shows. Start your 14-day free trial and stream the top shows you won't find on Freeview. Shows like these that you simply cannot miss, all without a contract. And with over 300 box sets, there's something for everyone. To start your 14-day free trial of over 300 box sets with no contract, search Now TV. At Lloyd's Pharmacy, we have an ambition to care for everyone in this high street and every street beyond. Because hey, that's what good neighbours do, isn't it? Lloyd's Pharmacy. How are you today? New shops in your area, delays in your area, petitions in your area, Good.UK, night south in your area, news in your area, in your area, Good.UK.
To hear the beat from your street, visit in your area and just enter your postcode. Live feeds, property news, local stats, and even help finding lost cats. Visit in your area today.
Right, let's roll.
Aussies don't do things like ours.
Awesome stuff. Awesome.
This shit here.
This is getting good.
Do I have 1 hour of brand new pure gold Aussie entertainment?
Yeah, drum roll.
You can have 2.
That is exactly what I'm here for.
Back-to-back episodes of brand new Aussie gold hunters of Railroad Australia. Monday from 9 on Quest.
It can't possibly be rubbish.
There's been an accident on the M42 corner.
Dangerous driving conditions are making
This program is sponsored by Churchill Car Insurance.
Welcome back to Wheeler Dealers. It's our mission to buy and restore iconic classic cars. We're really making good progress with the restoration of this stunning Jensen Interceptor Mark III that I gave my brand for. There's plenty of work to do. The travel on the brake pedal is dangerous and an MOT failure. That's a long pedal travel. My foot hits the brake pedal and then it goes down a little bit further.
When diagnosing a braking problem, a visual check always comes first. Been having a bit of a route around to see if I can discover why the brakes on this car are so poor. Mike was complaining about the fact that there was loads of pedal travel. That's not something you want on a performance car like this. Now I've checked the brake lines, the discs, the calipers and the pad, and so far there's nothing obviously wrong. So I reckon the culprit might be up there in the engine bay. Let's have a look up here. We've got big servo, master cylinder and the reservoirs. Have a quick route around. Yeah, I can see some moisture at the base of the servo and also around the sort of the back or the coupling part of the master cylinder itself. Now I can't be absolutely sure, so what I'm going to do is undo the 2 nuts that hold the master cylinder to the servo, and then I can see if there's any really obvious damage. I suspect our dodgy brakes are being caused by fluid leaking from our hydraulic braking system. Moist parts hint at a likely culprit, but to be absolutely sure, I need to see exactly where the fluid is coming from. My money is on the master cylinder. There we go. And as I suspected, the inside of the master cylinder is covered in fluid, which means, of course, if fluid can get out, then air can get in, which would probably explain why the brakes seem a little bit spongy or, in fact, have a lot of pedal travel. And I think, really, the safest thing to do is to try and change this, rebleed the system, and hopefully we'll be back in business. Despite the Jensen being a large car, there's not a lot of spare space in the engine bay. Typically, I need to remove the radiator expansion tank before I can get access to all of the master cylinder's brake pipe unions. Well, here is our leaky master cylinder. Now, you can think of this rather like a syringe. You put a bit of pressure with your thumb on the plunger, give it a push, and fluid comes out of the other end under a bit of pressure. So this is your plunger. You've got these 2 ports on the top. That's where the fluid from the reservoir goes into the master cylinder. And of course, when you put your foot on the brake pedal with a bit of assistance from the servo, those 2 pistons put pressure onto the fluid inside the circuit, and then high pressure fluid effectively comes out of these 2 ports here and goes into the brake circuit. Now the thing is, hydraulic fluid is actually non-compressible, which means you can transmit a fair amount of force, and in fact 1,200 pounds per square inch in a car like this. When you've got a leak like we have here, you can get air into the system, and unfortunately air is compressible, so you put your foot on the brake, and rather than compressing the fluid, you actually compress the air, which means, of course, you get that spongy feeling or excessive travel. So we're going to need to replace this with a brand new one to fix our problem.
Although the Jensen is 35 years old, I managed to track down a new master cylinder that arrived by courier in under 24 hours.
This is quite an easy part to get hold of. Okay, so it costs 120 quid, but bear in mind, this is a bespoke car. And if you had to get something similar to something like a handmade Bristol, it would be a lot more money. Little top tip here. On our servo there's a rod that acts on this little tube here in the master cylinder, and to make sure you've got years of trouble-free service, I'm just going to pop a little bit of grease on there to stop any graunching of the metal parts.
Replacing the master cylinder is an easy bolt-off, bolt-on job, but only tackle it yourself if you're confident you can bleed the system afterwards. It looks easy, but get it wrong and you're likely to lose the brakes altogether. The new master cylinder is in place, but the system is full of air. It needs to be bled. For a change, I'll operate the pedals and I'll get Paul to do all the bleeding. Quite simply, I'll be forcing any air bubbles in the fluid out of the system via the bleed nipple. As I push the pedal, Paul opens the nipple and the air is expelled. Once the system is purged of the air, the pedal firms up. Doing this whole job yourself could save around £200 in garage fees.
Okay, what's the pedal like? Just pumping it. That feels a bit better actually. Fantastic, got a really firm brake pedal. Now to be fair, this is probably one of the most important jobs to do on this car. And once I found the problem, it was a nice easy fix. This Jensen is an absolute joy to work on.
Ed, how you doing?
Hey,
You alright, mate? Yeah, wicked. Right, I'm sure you're going to tell me all the hard work on the Jensen has been done underneath.
Indeed it has. You know the score. All that welding had to be sorted out. It took a little longer than I was hoping for because there's a lot more rust than I was hoping for. But that's now sorted, as are the brakes. I was kind of expecting you to turn up with a load of parts for the air conditioning.
Right, I've got some bad news there. We're not going to do the air conditioning because every spare part place I rung up about reinstating the air conditioning, they all wanted over £1,000. So I've decided to shelve the idea. But there was some good news because I did meet this company that invited me down to go and have a look at their business. Wow, what a place. They make everything for the Jensen. Everything you could possibly need. Wings, bonnets, any component on a car is a spare part. They brought the tool in to remake it. So if we need anything, we found the people.
That's kind of handy actually. You can have a look at this horrible mess at the bottom underneath the car.
Oh, that doesn't look good. What do you think that is then?
Well, I don't really know. It's obviously coming from the engine, and it means we're probably going to have to get a replacement part. But now you know where to get them from. Job done.
Bingo.
Yeah.
I always knew we'd struggle to reinstall the missing aircon, but many Jensens are like this, and let's face it, Mike's right. We wouldn't make the extra £1,000 back when we sell. This leak, though, does need urgent attention, and it could cost us a buyer.
The Watercraft Jensen is going pretty well, but unfortunately I recently discovered a leak coming from underneath the car. Now that is pretty frustrating because it wasn't on the to-do list, which means it's extra work. Now the pool of liquid is actually red, and when I've been manoeuvring the car around the workshop, the steering's been feeling quite notchy, which means it's probably a steering-related leak, and in fact probably it's a fault with the steering rack itself. Now the only real way to find out is to get the car up on the rack and have a good route around underneath. I'm trying to find the source of our pool of red liquid. It's not going to take too long because the whole of the underside of this car is covered in power steering fluid. There you go. You see, on the pinion housing now, you can see this bright red fluid. Clearly there's something terminally wrong with our power steering rack. And the thing is, it's a precision part, so it's really hard to fix. So I think the best thing to do is probably unbolt that one and swap it for a replacement.
The steering rack transfers the rotational motion of the steering wheel to the left-right motion of the front wheels. This one is power-assisted and it's a hydraulic part. On each end of the rack there is a track rod end, and there is a simple safety trick when getting them off.
And first of all, I'm just going to crack off the lock nuts for the track rod ends, and then I'm actually going to undo the track rod ends themselves. What I need to do is undo that nut. I'll undo it most of the way, leaving it in place. I'm going to hit this with the hammer to break the taper, pop the ball joint out, and then I can start to undo them.
Leaving the nut in place limits damage to the thread if I miss with a hammer, and stops the track rod ends flying up and damaging you or the car.
There we go. 1, 2...
When you change the track rod ends, count the number of turns as you remove them, and do the same as they go back on.
There we go, so that's 16 and a half on that side.
This way, the steering geometry will be in the right ballpark for the wheel alignment.
I've now got to try and disconnect the car from the power steering rack. Now the thing is, it's actually held together with a whole load of universal joints, and the one that's nearest the rack is the one I'm going to go for. It's got a little pinch bolt going through it, so if I can get to it, which is going to be tricky, I'm going to undo that, and then to give us a little extra access as well, I'm also going to disconnect one of the little bearing carriers as well. Here it goes. There we go. Right, so now, go underneath. Now before I undo the hydraulic pipes, I thought I'd have a go at trying to get the rack away from the car itself. Now it's held onto some bracketry with 4 bolts, 2 either side, and then that bracketry is held onto the car with some more bolts. So I'm hoping I can save some time by just undoing the 4 bolts that go onto the rack itself.
The bolts are coming off easily, and it looks as though this is all I need to do to finally free the rack.
Last thing to undo is the hydraulic pipes, and they're way down here in the depths of the engine.
Now I've done the easy part, here comes the hard part, actually getting the rack off the car.
This car is really beginning to fight me. Despite all the room we have in the engine bay, I've got no room at all to manoeuvre that steering rack. Unfortunately, I think it seems these aftermarket fans are in the way.
So out come the fans.
Okay, we've now got the second fan off. Just lift this out of the way. So hopefully, we should now have a bit more joy with this power steering rack. Okay. It's kind of heavy, but we now have our steering rack removed from the engine bay. What an utter hassle.
Mike's friendly engineering company came up with the goods. They supplied and delivered a reconditioned rack for just £250. It would be unusual for a replacement part to arrive with all the ancillaries attached, but it's just a few minutes work to swap over the holding bracket and the grease nipple, and then we're ready to go.
As you'd expect, putting one of these things back into the car is pretty much the opposite of removal, so
I'm very disappointed that we had to spend an extra few hours and valuable cash on a job I didn't expect. But look on the bright side, at least the problem was identified in the workshop rather than by a prospective buyer. And mechanically, this car is now going to be 100%, and that will hopefully pay dividends when Mike comes to sell. The hydraulic pipes are all connected, and the fans I removed need to be bolted back on. Now I need to top up the power steering fluid before I can test the rack.
And this is just normal power steering fluid. You can equally use automatic transmission fluid, to be honest, the same stuff. Which is just going to pop a little bit in here. And the idea is just to pop a bit in now, just to get the system going. But you don't want to top it right to the brim, because of course when you have to then kind of bleed the system through, you might get a bit of a burp back and then you can get fluid everywhere. So I'm just going to put just a little bit in there. Okay, so there's enough for now. So the next thing to do is to fire the car up and then bleed the system. Bleeding a power steering rack is nice and simple. I've started the engine. What I have to do now is just go from lock to lock, left to right, a couple of times, and that way by moving the system fully left and fully right, any air that's in the system is going to vent itself through the reservoir. Now, normally you can hear a bit of a change in note from the engine, but actually it's so loud and it's going to be a bit of a struggle. But what I can tell you is that it's getting nice and smooth now. There's no more notches. So I think pretty much all of the air is now out of the system, so it's just a case now of topping it up. I've now led the steering rack and I've just topped up the reservoir while the engine's running, so I can put the lid back on. We're pretty much ready to go. The MOT is practically in the bag. That flaky floor pan is solid once once more. The brakes that wouldn't stop are now working perfectly. I've even replaced that leaky steering rack. We are making some serious progress on our Jensen, and I think I deserve a break.
This car tire reached the end of the road. Tell the steering wheel I love.
This program is sponsored by Churchill Car Insurance.
I know how to keep my body healthy. But how do you keep your mouth healthy? My dentist said, try Oral-B Pro Expert Puppy Toothpaste. It's actually the one I use myself. I didn't even know Oral-B made a toothpaste.
Oral-B Pro Expert, the #1 toothpaste most used by dentists in the UK.
I tried it and my whole mouth feels healthier and stronger.
For a healthier mouth and stronger teeth starting from day one. Oral-B, brush like a pro.
Spaghetti bolognese for 4, for just £3.63. That'll go down well. Our best value is exclusively at Tesco. Every little helps.
Dulux EasyCare with hardware included. Stays the way you painted it. Fast access to treatment, and for some conditions you might not even need to see your GP first. With direct access to expert advice, you'll soon be back, doing the things you love with those you love. Bupa Health Insurance. For living. Call 0800 804 4111 now.
Oh no, the cooker needs new parts, but Pesca is still weeks away. Quick, think.
Restore some order. Find out more at quickly.co.uk.
New Olay Whips. Powerful skincare, now light as air. A breakthrough moisturizer. Delightfully whipped for instant absorption. Feel a light as air finish in a flash. New Olay Whips. I strengthen my hair like I strengthen my body. New Pantene Superfood is a multi-nutrient for your hair. With Pro-V blend, antioxidant and lipids. Up to 100% stronger hair. New Pantene Superfood. Strong is beautiful. Get stronger hair with 3-minute miracle and treatments. Pantene.
Here, there, everywhere. No limitation. Pop up online, on your phone, at the shop. Control your power with Boost Pay-As-You-Go Energy.
Welcome to Now TV. Grab a Sky Cinema Pass and dive into the latest blockbusters. Start your 14-day free trial and stream over 1,000 movies. Like these must-see jaw-droppers that will have you reaching for the popcorn. All without a contract. So sit back, relax. There's a movie for everyone. To start your 14-day free trial of over 1,000 movies with no contract, search Now TV.
How many steps do you do? Get Super Fast Fibre Essential and you'll find out. Switch to BT and the latest Fitbit Charge Free, worth $129.99 is all yours. Free. You'll also be stepping up to more online security than other big broadband providers. And be heading towards a deal of $29.99 a month on an 18-month contract, with our lowest ever standard price for unlimited fibre. To get the latest Fitbit Charge Free on us, just join BT by the 1st of November. Hang on, my 10,000 steps won't do themselves. Search BT Broadband or call 0800 085 7332.
Massive thanks from SCS for giving us a 5-star Trustpilot rating. It's all thanks to sofas like this, now $379, but the offer can't last long. Thanks for loving our carpet offers. Save up to 50%, and right now there's free fitting. You'll thank us for this stylish sofa too. Just $479 if you're quick. Thanks to SCS, there's nothing to pay for a year with 4 years free credit and we'll deliver for Christmas. Hurry, sofa savings shown like this one at only $299. Must end soon at SCS.
In the next Salvage Hunters.
How much should I be there? 50 cheap cheap. 50 quid?
Yeah.
Won't be cheap cheap, it'll be quack quack. Oh, I'm really sorry about it.
Brand new Salvage Hunters, Wednesday at 9, only on Quest, Quest OD. Well, I had a rich and varied life, going round and round and round. Churchy amends me.
This program is sponsored by Churchill Car Insurance.
Welcome back to Wheeler Dealers, the show that's on a mission to buy, restore and sell on classic cars. I'm really excited about this one, the brilliant Jensen Interceptor. We'll find out later if we can sell it on for a profit. But there's still work to be done. The devil is in the detail, and our interior needs attention. Ed, it's time to get busy.
When our Jensen first hit the road, this sumptuous leather interior probably looked rather special, but now, after years of hard use, it looks quite tired. Now, I don't really enjoy doing this kind of job, but I'm going to attempt to try and bring this faded leather back to life. Am I going to use magic? No, I'm going to use the right product and then hours and hours of hard work. I'm using a decent cleaner and then a lint-free cloth to remove any dirt, dust and grease. Then the leather food is applied and buffed off carefully, just like when you polish your favourite size 14s. Rocket science it ain't, and it only costs a tenner. Well, I've spent a couple of hours on this seat so far, and I think perhaps it has been worth all the effort, because if you look at the treated seat compared to the untreated seat, you can definitely see it's been transformed. In fact, even the colour has been restored a little bit as well. The downside is I've still got flat seats and the interior to do. Leather responds to moisture, heat and light. If you let it dry out completely, it's likely to crack, and that is so much harder to fix. We've caught this interior just in time, and it's coming up beautifully. Now I can start getting the seats back in the car, and perhaps enjoy the overall effect of my hard work. Thought I'd give the wheels a bit of a polish as well. There's that aluminium wheel nuts. I'm not going to use a windy gun, just a brake bar. This handmade car looked decidedly second-hand when I first saw it, but I could see the fundamentals were there. Good body and strong engine and gearbox. Our Interceptor was clearly a car that deserved a second chance at life in the fast lane. And I'm really pleased that all those hours of my hard work are going to give it exactly that. We've been on a journey with this car, and we've arrived at a new beginning for the beautiful, iconic Jensen. It's fit once again to cruise the A roads and take its place in the Motoring Hall of Fame. Yes, it's a driver's car, but everyone can enjoy its stunning looks. I'm really proud. The car was advertised at £6,750, and the owner wanted a quick sale. I used this to my advantage, and we shook at just £5,000. Ed got to work on the rotten floor by cutting out the rust and replated it. The brake master cylinder was leaking, and Ed swapped it for an original part. The steering arm was making the system notchy, and that was replaced when the hydraulic system bled. Not a fast or easy job. The interior responded well to a bit of spit and polish, the final touch for a classy Jensen. What did we spend? The car was £5,000. The steel panel was only 20 quid. The master cylinder, 120. Steering rack, £250. Cleaning materials, £40. So the Jensen owes us 5,430 quid. Wow! Look at the motor, Ed! How's that gorgeous Jensen Interceptor? Well, all of the jobs are finished, and it's sailed through the MOT, so now she's ready to go. It looks absolutely mint. Look at the way it's polished up, and in saying that, the bodywork was always good. Yeah, all the work I was doing was hidden in the depths there, but I think the end result is still fantastic. It's awesome, Ed. So, all the mixed up? Absolutely. Because the last time I drove this car was on an old farm track, and I'm desperate to get it out the open road and give it a good blast. Are you up for that? Of course I am. Oh, let's go. A special car deserves to be driven on special roads.
So we've come to the challenging Alpine circuit of Millbrook Proving Ground, where the Jensen's poise and performance can be properly sampled. Lovely V8, effortless power. And the soundtrack of that engine burbling away under the bonnet. Oh, this car is wicked.
That is an old school classic. It feels really together, really confident. But no soggy springs or broken suspension. It is just a fantastic example of an interceptor. Two of the big problems on this car, of course, were the brakes and the power steering. So how do they feel? Well, at the moment, I've got to tell you, the steering is absolutely spot on. And it's a pleasure to chuck this car into these corners. As for the brakes, well, they feel first class. In fact, why don't we give it a proper test? There's a nice straight bit of road here. All right, let's level it up and slam on the anchors. That is impressive. You worked a miracle, my son. Well done. So what kind of price you can conjure up for this little chap? Are we going to make some money on our Jensen? Or are we going to make some money on what?
The Jensen owes us less than £5.5 grand, and being this good, we've got a good chance of selling it on for 7.
You liking those numbers? I'm liking them very much. Very much indeed.
I've advertised that Jensen on a few websites, and it must be time to buy an appreciating classic, because the phone fell off the hook. First on the phone was this guy. He's called David. He's come down, driven the car, already loves it, and I think it's just a case of first come, first serve. All I need to do is seal the deal. So what do you think of it then? She is a beauty, isn't she?
No, she's nice.
She
She's very
is
nice.
absolutely gorgeous. And you like the way she drives?
Yeah, very smooth, very pokey.
Very pokey. And would you bother putting a radio on in a car like this, or would you just listen to the soundtrack?
No, that engine's hypnotic. It's a lovely burble.
Right. I mean, if you're buying this, it will be a very solid investment for you, but I need to know whether you are in a position to buy it, really.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah, definitely.
Very good.
Yeah, why not?
Well, I've advertised it for 7 grand, and I think it's worth every penny of that. And if you look after it, you should get that back for it whenever you come to sell it. What do you think?
Bit steep. Quite a lot of money. 6?
What? You only want to buy a bit of it? 6 grand? Are you nuts? I can't sell it for that. I'll take a little bit less because I need to move it on. I'll take 6,750 or 6 3/4 cash if you are keen on the motor now.
6.5.
6.5.
Cash? Cash.
Now?
No.
You look after it?
Yeah.
Promise?
Yeah, definitely.
I'll let you in. You bought yourself a motor. Well done, son.
Thank you very much.
Okay, I hope for 7, but at 6.5, we've still backed over a grand profit. It's a sweet deal for me and Ed, but David's the real winner here because he gets to drive away in this car. I love this job. Sometimes you can find a right corker like this gorgeous Jensen, turn it around and earn some good cash to put in the old Skyrocket. Sadly, it's time to say goodbye to the old girl. But if you want to see more cars getting a Mike and Ed treatment, then join us again soon on Wheeler Dealers. Ta-da! Oh no, fine, I'm fine. It's just a scratch, that's all. No need to cool them a
This program is sponsored by Churchill Car Insurance.
Find all the Tesco finest ingredients to make your own unmissable scallops and prawns in store and online. Food Love Stories, brought to you by Tesco Finest.
No, you're too tense. notification ring, 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 ring. Get a notification when you need to top up your power. Control your power with Boost Pay-As-You-Go Energy.
I can't believe you haven't yet claimed for your Miss Sol PPI. You do know there's now a deadline. Can you afford not to claim? You could be owed up to £7,000. There are billions still unclaimed, but you only have until August 2019 to do it. If you can't remember your loans or you've mislaid information, don't worry. Call Gladstone Brooks now on 08000 469 600. Gladstone Brooks.
Get 10% off Admiral Home Insurance. Another epic deal. Exclusively at Murray's Supermarket. At Haddington's, it's our mission to ensure every pet can enjoy naturally healthy food. Haddington's, natural for all. New shops in your area, delays in your area, petitions in your area, UK, United South in your area, news in your area, in your area, UK.
To hear the beat from your street, visit in your area and just enter your postcode. Live feeds, property needs, local stats, and even help finding lost cats. Visit in your area today. Meow, 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 meow.
It's time to stock up. Guarantee you're off to enjoy like Dr. I'll get the van then. Brand new Salvage Hunters. Wednesday at 9 on Quest. And available on Quest OD. We're spending Saturday morning with the Wheeler Dealers now on Quest, which is relaxing for us, but not so much for poor old mechanic Ed Shiner on this one. There's a beautiful Morgan Plus 4 that needs a fair bit of work.
There's been an accident on the M42 corner.
Dangerous driving conditions are making it.
This program is sponsored by Churchill Car Insurance.
This is Wheeler Dealers, where we take iconic cars that are a bit rough around the edges and we fix them up ready for another trip along the open road. I find the motors,
And I get busy in the workshop and make them great once more.
and then we sell them on.
Hopefully for a profit.
This time we're on the hunt for a car that's as British as your roast beef on a Sunday or a nice little village fete. If you like your cars 100% classic, you're going to love this. A Morgan. It's a little piece of Britain on four wheels. If it looks like it belongs in the 1930s, frankly, it does. That's its charm. This truly iconic Sportster is handmade by craftsmen. And although it's lived through decades of changing taste and fashions, its basic design has hardly changed at all. Despite vintage leaf springs and a frame that actually contains wood, the classic Plus 4 or Plus 8s have sharp handling. Over the years, more powerful engines have endowed the mighty Morgan with decent grunt. That's why buyers queue up to pay more than £30,000 for a car that doesn't even have electric windows. Do I want one? Of course I do. Now, the Morgan is a very British and very iconic motor that's in very short supply. They don't come from a manufacturer that makes hundreds of thousands of cars each year. They come from a little company that make just 700. Now, the waiting list for a Morgan year on year is about as long as, well, Ed's arm really. So this is going to be one tough find. I'm trying specialist sites as this isn't your run-of-the-mill Sportster. As I expected, the handful of tiny Morgans out there are commanding prices north of 20 grand, and that's too rich for me. I told you this was going to be tough because even the Morgan Owners Club can't offer me a +4, which is the spec I'm after, for less than £15,000. I've got no other choice really, other than to pick up the phone and start looking at the motor trade. You never know, there might be one out there. From a dealer, I'm looking for a trade-in which has some issues. I'll be honest with you, with only a handful of traders taking these cars, it's a long shot. I sniff an opportunity with a Morgan specialist who took a car in a few hours ago which needs work. It's a +4, so 4 cylinders in British Racing Green. Cheers then, bye-bye. Now that sounds very interesting. This guy that's taken in the trade-in, that sounds exactly what I'm looking for. He says it's a nice tidy little +4, it's got an MOT at the moment, but he doesn't think he'll get for another one. Now the car is only at £13,000, a new one goes for 3 times that, so I'm not going to mess about, I'm going to get straight over there. Cheaper Morgans tend to be the pre-80s cars, which can be prone to corrosion or electrical problems. So fingers crossed that the one I'm on my way to go and see is a good one, because I haven't seen any pictures and I hate to go and look at a motor blind. Look at this, a proper country garage selling proper cars. But I haven't come to see one of these £40,000 Morgans, I've come to see something parked round the back. You Richard?
Yes, I'm Richard Thorne.
Richard Mike Brewer.
Yeah, pleased to meet you.
Nice to meet you, what a lovely place.
Thank you.
Now we spoke on the phone, I've come down to see this old Morgan you've got parked round the back.
Yeah, it's not round the back though.
Where is it?
It's here in the courtyard.
What, it's one of these?
Yes, it is.
You're kidding, which one?
That one over there.
Oh, wonderful, let's have a look. What, this one?
It's that one.
You're kidding?
No.
Wow, Richard, that was, well, fantastic. I love the colour. It's got a lovely set of wheels on it.
Yeah, colour-coded wheels, Connaught green.
And it's got some extras on it, I see. It's got a unique number plate, it's got a luggage rack,
Yeah.
it's got drop-down screens. All of that stuff is extra money, isn't it?
It is.
How did you come by this car?
We had a phone call, we know the car anyway. A gentleman's returned to the US and he can't import the car into the US, so he's asked us to stay up on his behalf.
Well, he's lost. Maybe my game, you never know.
I hope so.
Well, let's have a look at this interior. Oh, look at that. Out there somewhere is a great big walnut tree, missing a lump, isn't there?
Yeah, it's got a lovely walnut dash, wood rim wheel as well. Lots
it
of
on
nice
here?
extras inside.
Fantastic.
It's gonna
I
come
love this leather.
They got it on here.
Yeah, we're saying the green piping, green
on
carpets,
there.
very traditional combination.
5-speed box.
Yeah, absolutely.
And the mileage is only done 24,000.
That's right, and full service history.
Now let's have a look under the bonnet.
Absolutely.
It's a double-sided bonnet. It just goes
Got
like
like
that.
that.
Very nice. Yeah, very nice. That's room. Yeah.
That's right, 2 litre, 136 brake,
yeah.
lots of torque,
Fantastic.
very reliable.
This
And
goes
in a
over
car that weighs the same as, say, a basket of soup, I mean, I bet the performance is fantastic, isn't it?
Yeah, it only weighs 900 kilos, so you get a really good power weight
I've
ratio.
already got it anyway.
What's it sound like? Can I hear it?
Yeah, of course you can.
Let's do that.
On the back of that thing.
Sounds really sweet, Richard, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It really does. Very high mileage, of course, as well.
Ticks over lovely. Wonderful. All right, you can turn her off if you like. So, Richard, what is wrong with this car?
Okay, the chassis has been poorly repaired in the past and it's not going to get another MOT.
Oh, what a shame. Well, can't we just patch it up and get it for an MOT?
You could do that, but it wouldn't be doing the right thing by the car. It really needs a new chassis.
A new chassis?
Yeah.
How much is one of them going to cost?
They're £600.
Was that all?
That is, but unfortunately it's a good 100 hours of labour to fit it.
100 man-hours?
Yes.
That won't make somebody very happy, let me tell you. All right. Well, listen, the car is so pretty and the sun's out, roof's off. I do need to take it for a test drive, is that all right?
Of course.
I'll tell you what, a couple of minutes behind the wheel, and I've already got a feel for why there's a waiting list as long as your arm for one of these Morgans. It's got a charm all of its own. It's stylish. Made me from a bygone era. You may be thinking, I bet it drives very 1930s. where I'm going with this. Sorry, Ed, but at 13 grand this car is definitely worth a punt. So if they haven't changed their minds, I'm going to get straight back to the garage and there's going to be some money changing hands. Well, Richard, what can I say? It gets down the road lovely. You'd never dream that there was something wrong with this car. You'd never even know that there was 100 man-hours locked away inside there, needed to pull it back together. But you know what? None of that deters me from the car because I really like it. If your offer is still open at £13,000, I think I'm your man. I want it.
Okay, sold SC for restoration, no warranty.
I completely understand that. Hold out your hand. Yes, just bought myself a Morgan. I didn't chip in because 13 grand is a gift for this car, but I've not bought a Morgan that needs a little bit of TLC. I bought a car that needs major surgery. I've just taken a massive, massive risk.
This car tire reached the end of the road. Tell the steering wheel I love.
This program is sponsored by Churchill Car Insurance.
Massive thanks from SCS for giving us a 5-star Trustpilot rating. It's all thanks to sofas like this, now $379. But the offer can't last long. Thanks for loving our carpet offers. Save up to 50%, and right now there's free fitting. You'll thank us for this stylish sofa too. Just $479 if you're quick. Thanks to SCS, there's nothing to pay for a year with 4 years free credit and we'll deliver for Christmas. Hurry, sofa savings shown like this one at only $299. Must end soon at SCS.
Get our fastest broadband at its lowest price. At just £27 a month for 18 months, including line rental. It's super fast and will never slow you down. Perfect for busy households. So get our fastest broadband at its lowest price for just £27 a month, including line rental. And it's available with or without Sky TV. Search Sky Fibre. Pre-order Disney Pixar's Incredibles 2 in Sky Store.
With milk chocolate and crunchy hazelnut pieces, it's not just a biscuit, it's a balsam.
No one wants a boiler on the blink. We're with you. At British Gas, we have over 6,000 engineers, in case you need one. All part of home care boiler cover from just 40p a day, with a boiler service and parts and labour included. And now, enjoy 1 month free when you buy selected home care products online by the 19th of November. Search British Gas Home Care.
The pumpkins are delighted, the Allen family. The spicy part was scary, Dad is getting married. Glad it's kinda hairy, the Allen family. Allen, every day, That is exactly what I'm here for.
Neither should you. Back-to-back episodes of brand new Aussie Gold Hunters and Railroad Australia. Monday from 9 on Quest.
Mike and Ed are back on home turf. Wheeler Dealers starts Thursday at 9. New to Quest.
Well, I had a rich and varied life, going round and round and round. Church needs a men's
This program is sponsored by Churchill Car Insurance.
Got ya. Got ya.
This 1992 Morgan is a beautiful example of a great British mark. At 13 grand, it's 10 grand less than a restored one. I had to have it.
Sold SC for restoration, no warranty.
Hold out your hand. Yes, but in saying yes, I've committed us to a titanic job of swapping over his chassis.
That won't make somebody very happy, let me tell you.
My mechanic, Ed China, doesn't know yet. Let's hope our rendezvous at the workshop doesn't end in a puncture.
Well, Morgan isn't for those who like their creature comforts because